Okay. Okay, so let's talk about this from another point of view. So what I'm going to do is explain and illustrate this using the Cartoon Guide to Statistics. And I posted a PDF version of this book on Western Online for you to access. And I have found it over the years to be a really good resource for explaining statistical concepts. And so I found it in PDF form, so I'm giving it to you. But I also thought it would be a good idea to explain this in several different ways. So I've given you the logic of it. This section is going to use the cartoon guide to give you an example, and then we're going to run through a calculation example again using some data from another textbook. And then I've got a couple of videos at the end from other people, because I think the more ways that you can hear this explained, the better off that you're going to be in moving forward and understanding regression. Okay, so this illustration shows the association between height and weight. And we know that it wouldn't look perfect, that how much you weigh is probably affected by height, and that taller people have more, weigh more because they have more body, they have longer, larger bones, and so on. So we would expect that people who are taller to weigh more. But we know that that relationship is not perfect, right? You know that there are people who are very tall who are thin, and people who are not so tall and who are not so thin. So we know that there's a lot of other variables, a lot of other factors that play a role in how much somebody weighs. But we're going to simplify it and just look at the relationship or the association between these two variables for this example. The data would probably look like this than the example before, where everything was beautiful and on the line, just like the example that I showed you earlier a few minutes ago. So this is a scatter plot graphing data of it on individuals' height and weight. And the larger dots here mean that there was more than one person who gave the exact same response. And so the larger the dot, that means more data points in that area. So that's why some of the dots are smaller and some of the dots are bigger, okay? Because those represent multiple responses at that location. You can see a trend line here, possibly, through the data. And it does seem to be that as someone's height increases, their weight increases. Not a perfect relationship, certainly a lot messier than the one we saw before, but we can see this data it is generally making this positive trend. So we'd expect there to be a positive correlation between these two variables, a positive association. So what we're going to do is to kind of use this example of weight and height. So can we predict a student's weight by knowing their height? And we're going to do this using regression. So we're going to fit a straight line to this messy scatter plot. And X is our height variable, it's our independent variable, and Y is our weight variable, that's our dependent variable. So we want to make a prediction about someone's weight based on their height. And our regression equation is going to look like this, our prediction. Y is equal to A plus BX. We've been talking about that already, so that's familiar. And linear regression is about fitting that best line, again, that minimizes the deviations around that line for the data. So to illustrate the fitting process, let's use a smaller rigged data set that only has 9 students. So we're going to make it a little simpler, and the data that they chose to include in this minimal data set has the same mean as the larger data set, but it gives us an easier way of dealing with it, because we're going to run through the calculation. So we want to be able to do that in a more simplified manner. Okay. So how do we get the best fit line? There are an infinite number of lines that could fit through the data. Maybe a line this way or a line this way. So because there are essentially an infinite number of lines, we could fit a line that look like this, and forgive the fact that they're not exactly straight. I can't do that. We could fit a line here, maybe we could fit a line here, but which one is the right line? Which one is the best line? So that's what regression is going to allow us to do, is to calculate that best line and what that line looks like. So the idea is to minimize the total spread of the values from the line. So just when we were looking at the variance and we were doing standard deviation and variance earlier in the semester, we looked at all the squared distances, right? So we did deviations from the line. So each score minus the mean was a deviation from the line, and then we squared that as part of our calculation. And this is what this little piece is showing, is we've done this before. We've talked about the sum of squares, that's sum of the square deviations around the mean, when we were doing a number of the calculations, and even in correlation last week we were doing that. So the sum of these squares, the sum of the square deviations around the mean, around that mean line, is an aggregate measure of how much the line's predicted trajectory differs from the actual data values. Okay, and we've done that predicted versus real before when we did the calculations for chi-square. So a lot of this language should be familiar. So we're talking about the sum of the squared differences when we're talking about that. Okay, so in the cartoon guide to statistics, we've got to figure out which is the best line. So if we look at these two lines up here in the corner, this one has a large deviation, right? I mean, these points on the graph are very far away from this mean line. This one has fewer distances or smaller deviation around that mean line. So we're trying to find the best line, right? So look at the formula on the right. There are a lot of steps in this process, and we're going to work through each one of them. So in the process of calculating regression, of finding that regression line, and that's what we want to do here, we're going to have to find some other pieces. So this first formula is the general formula for the regression line. We've already looked at this. Okay, so let's look at where those other pieces come from, though. So this first one is the general formula for the regression line. The second formula is how to find the slope, that B part. And this looks scary, but it should be familiar. What is this? Well, we've seen this. We've done this calculation before. This is the covariance. So the product of the differences between each score and its mean. So we've done this, the sum of the differences. And then at the bottom, this is the sum of the squared deviations around the x variable. So we've done this before already. So we had all of these pieces already in our correlation calculations last week, and we'll just come and run some of that same process and grab some of those pieces to calculate regression. So correlation and regression have similar calculation trajectories. And so we'll once again be dealing with our columns and working through those calculation processes. The bottom formula asks you to find that intercept using the slope that you calculated and the means for each variable. So we will find that slope, which is our the intercept, which is where the value of y when x is equal to 0. So we'll do this process, and after I show you how to do this after this week and you run through some small scale hand calculations, we're going to do this with SPSS, or we're going to do this with a regression calculator, because the focus is going to be on you being able to interpret the different pieces of this and tell us what that means about the relationship between those variables. Okay. So I want to show you there's slight differences between how the cartoon guide and Krieg use symbols. They're basically meaning the same thing. So I want to show you the connection between those things. So B is equal to SP over SS. Now SP for Krieg is that measure of variation, and it's the same as this calculation. So this and this are the same. Okay, so these two things are the same, and this is this piece of the formula right here, and this is this piece of the formula right there. So they give you this, Krieg gives you this small piece, and then he explains to you what SP and SS sub x mean. So this is this cross product sum, and this is that sum of the deviations around the independent variable squared. Okay, So he uses those, they should look familiar as they're part of the calculation process from correlation again, but there are some differences, so I want you to know when you're looking at them why Krieg is using this B equal SP over SS sub X, but it does equate to the same thing that Gonick and Wolcott-Smith, Larry Gonick and Wolcott-Smith are using in the cartoon guide. So the denominator is the cross product of the differences in each of these cases. The numerator is, and the denominator is the squared deviations around the mean for the independent variable. All right, so let's look at what this means in terms of calculation. So this should look a lot like the correlation tables that we created last week. And the process is the same. So we have our individual scores for X, our individual scores for Y. We've calculated here. First step is to calculate the mean for each group. So the mean for X is 68, the mean for Y is 140. Remember, we get that by adding all these together and dividing by how many scores there are, which is 9. So the sum of these divided by 9 is 68. The sum of these values divided by 9 is 140. Okay, so we find the mean for each group. That's step 1. Step 2, we're going to measure our deviations, right? So the deviations from the mean. 60 minus 68 is 8. 62 minus 68 is negative 6. Let me change to a laser pointer to make that easier to see. 64 minus 68 is negative 4, and so on. 66 minus 68, negative 2. We do the same thing for our Y values. 84 minus 140 is minus 56. 95 minus 140 is minus 45. 140 minus 140 is 0, and so on. So we do that all the way down. So that is step 2. Step 3 is to take those values and square those deviations. So negative 8 squared is positive 64. Negative 6 squared is positive 36. Negative 4 squared is positive 16. We do that for all of the X values. And then we come over and we do it for the Y values. Negative 56 squared is 3136. Negative 45 squared is 2025. 0 squared is 0, and so on. And then we're going to sum these columns at the end. So the sum of this column is 240, and the sum of this column is 10,426. So that's step 3. Square the deviations around the mean and then add those columns, sum the columns. The fourth step is to multiply the deviations for each case and sum that column. So where do these values come from? It is this number multiplied by this number. So negative 8 times 56 is equal to 448. Negative 6 times negative 45 is equal to 270. Negative 4 multiplied by 0 is 0. Negative 2 multiplied by 15 is negative 30. So that's where each of those scores come from. So this is the product of the deviations for each case. And then we take those numbers and we add them together and we get 1200. So now we have all the things that we need to plug in to to formulate our equation. Okay, so the next thing we do is we start to plug these things in. So we plug our numbers into our equation to find B. So our numbers, we had 1200, and where did that come from? Let me go back up and show you where 1200 came from. 1200 is this value here. For 240, excuse me, is this value here. So the sum of the square deviations around X. So 1200 divided by 240 is equal to 5. So we now have B. So we move on. Once we have B, we can plug B, which is 5 right here, into our formula for the intercept. And we find that the intercept is negative 200. So we have 140, which is the mean for Y, minus 5, which was our value for the slope, multiplied by 68, which is why our mean for x is equal to negative 200. Now, people can't be negative 200, right? That doesn't make any sense. That's okay. The intercept doesn't have to make sense. It often doesn't make any sense. It's just the point at which when height equals 0, weight equals negative 200. Neither of those make any sense. So the intercept value doesn't have to be a value that is present on the chart. It can be something that is off the chart that is not even possible, because it's really about the slope of the line that we want to get. So even though it doesn't pass through that point, it's okay. Now, one of the other things that Gonick and Smith point out is that the regression line always passes through this point right here, the mean of x and the mean of y. So you know where that's going to be. It's pivoting on that intersection point. And so your line is always going to come through that level, through that value. And then the last step, we have found B and we've found A, so we can write our regression equation. We just plug those in. So we take A and B and plug them into our regression equation. So our regression equation for the relationship between height and weight is negative 200 plus 5x. Y is equal to negative 200 plus 5x.